like that. It's not a problem. So good night, everyone. So tonight we're going to talk about learning a third language. And funny thing to say is that the three of us here, we do speak a third language. So we have a little bit of background on learning a third language.
Mm.
All right. So let's get it started and feel free to introduce yourself if you want. If you don't, it's not a problem. And answer the first question. Warley, do you mind to answer the first question? Have you ever considered learning a third language?
Yeah, I wasn't uh, a question because I wasn't thinking if you are considering Portuguese with a language also that we have. So yeah, I consider learning a third language and it's English. I already know Portuguese and Spanish. Now I'm learning English, and maybe in some years I think I will focus on the Italian, I guess, and that's it.
Really? Italian? Wow. Ma che. We have Italian immersions here on Talk and Talk, so it's gonna be easy.
Yeah,
Why
Thank
Italian? Why?
I think that because it's similar to Spanish, and I really like the accent of Italian, the way
Okay.
that he talks and speaks. I think that's it. I like a lot the language.
you know what, Warley? I've heard before that for those who speak Spanish, it's easier to learn Italian. Well, I
Yes.
mean, if you don't
Yes.
speak Spanish,
I
you know.
I I don't want I don't want to learn another language, just English and Spanish. And I will
I'm in the
focus
same
just in
boat.
English, Spanish, English and Spanish. I will focus always in this language, to be a proficient, to be a fluent native, like native, I want to be like native in English and in Spanish.
Yeah,
Great, Andre. I'm
and
on the same boat with you.
yeah, and there another reason because I really like to visit Italy. So I think it would be nice to speak Italian on Italy and speak of the people. So that's another reason to learn Italian.
Have you ever been there, Warren?
No, not
No?
yet.
Great, great. Well, in my case, I've already speak a third language. I consider Spanish as a third language because the first one that I tried to learn was English as a second language. And well, as Andrea mentioned it before, I don't have enough time and I'm not willing to learn a fourth language. Like I'm already studying English. I believe it's a work in progress. It will never finish. And the same to Spanish. We will never be 100% proficient. Wow, this word is hard to say, but actually, I'm trying to mastering my abilities, my skills in English and Spanish as well. So I believe I don't have any reason to learn a fourth language. I've tried to learn German in the past, but it was really hard, and I had not any reason to do that. I was not. I want move to Germany, I wouldn't get a job for a German company. So as considering that our time is short because we don't have infinite time, I'm considering to just master my abilities in Spanish and German. Is that the same to you, Andre? Like you already have a lot of things to learn and to master that you already learned that you don't have any time to a new language, right?
Right now, I have a time to learning another language, but I think that it's important. it's important to focus and speak very good, very, clear. And for me, it's important to speak very clear because maybe one day I work in American company with my manager will be Americans, and I think that's important. I need to have a good communication, very clear, and I want to focus just in English. Maybe one day, but I don't want. But focus just in English right now. I don't have any interest in learning another language like for example, it's good learning right now because we live in a world as a global world. So it's good learning now Mandarin, for example, but it's a hard language. It's very difficult. So I think
And
that
you
English.
know what? And you know what? There are more Chinese people speaking English than Americans. So,
Exactly. English is a universal language. You can
of course
talk
it is.
in everywhere English. And Spanish, because Spanish is the second language the most people
We speak around the
is
world.
speaking
Yes.
around the world. Exactly. So
On the other
it's,
hand, Italian, like Warley mentioned it, it's only spoken like in
it's a beautiful
Italy.
language.
Of
It's a
course it
beautiful
is.
language, like French. I love French. Listen music in French. But I don't have time right now. I want to learn another things, not just focus in English. When I have time to focus in on English and Spanish, and I have time to learn another things, not just a language.
Yeah. Warley, I'm sorry, but
Don't worry.
it was something like a bucket of cold water in your dreams.
There's no problem.
All right, let's jump to the second question. Andrea, how do you envision using this new language in your life, considering that you're not willing to learn a new language right now, but you mentioned that maybe in the future you may start studying a new language. Which one is gonna be this new language to you?
Mandarin is
Okay.
Mandarin for money, but I don't know. And how do you envision use the new language in your life? Just in a job, yeah. Job like if I will start a new language, you a Mandarin. You'll
Yeah.
be a Mandarin.
It's hard because studying new languages, at least in my family, is such a lonely task because everybody else is talking about normal things and normal stuff, and I'm studying English and I have nobody to practice like
No.
something lonely. And
And
you can imagine if you're studying Mandarin, it's almost impossible
it's
to find someone to practice.
it's very hard. It's very hard. And I have a lot to learn in English. I have a lot to learn. And Mandarin, I saw videos in YouTube and Mandarin. They have a man study 8 years, studied 8 years for learning Mandarin.
Wow.
It's yes,
I don't have 8 years.
yes.
Warley, what about you, Warley? What do you think about the second question?
Well, I will answer about the both languages, English and Italian. Well, English, as you said, is used in all world, and it's so important to my career. I work with IT, so that's so important to get a job, uh, in a global company. And as I said, Italian, I would really like to travel to Italy. So it would be nice to speak in Italian on Italy with the people. So I think that's it.
Great. Do you mind to read and answer the fourth question to us, Warley?
The four or the three?
The fourth. Actually,
Okay.
I'm sorry, we are on the just on the second. I apologize. Go for the third question, please.
Okay. What are some factors you would consider when choosing which language to learn? Um, I think that the relevance of the language in the global communication, as I said, English, for example, it's so important. All the world is speaking English. But I think that personal or professional goals, I don't know if you like the culture of the country, for example, it's a good point to learn a language. And I don't know. I think also the accessibility of the resource to learn. I think English, for example, it's so good to get resources for learning the language. But I don't know. Another language it's more complicated, and so I think as the accessibility of resources is a good point, a good factor to consider to learn the another language.
Yeah, I agree with you. What about you, Andre, about the third question?
I was okay. The third question. Let me see. What
What are
are some
some
factors?
factors you would consider when choosing which language to learn? Actually, you've
I
already
agree
answered.
with you, Warley. I agree with Arley. I agree with him. That's some factors you
Okay.
should consider when choosing. Yeah, I agree with Arley. You speak everything.
In my case, it's something like which language I can apply to my real life. And I'm say my real life, it's something like a job because all the other things, as considering that we live in Brazil, it's something like useless. For example, it's hard to find someone that speaks English on the street. It's hard, really hard. Here in late, I believe it's a scenario of Latin, not only Brazil, but Latin in general. South America and Central America, I believe we have this characteristic that people doesn't speak English. It's like we are only 5% of the Brazilian population that speak English. So it's really hard to have an application other than that on a job or working remotely, working abroad. So that's the main factor that I would consider when choosing which language to learn. And considering that, of course, to learn Mandarin, we have to spend at least 8 years, but all language that we are trying to learn, I believe we have to dedicate at least 2 years to have a basic level. So it's really important to choose something that will make, uh, what can I say, that will make sense to us to learn and to spend a lot of time. Great, let's jump to the fourth question.
Lando, sorry.
Yes.
Let me
Oh,
ask you a question. I think you work with IT, so also, right?
yes, yes.
So that's makes sense. You learn English, for example. But why did you learn Spanish?
Because considering that I am on the same, well, first of all, I had to travel to Spain, so I planned and I started to learn Spanish, but it was like 5 or 6 years ago. But recently, like 2 years ago, I've I've considering like if I am living on the same time zone of the Latin America, I can be a good resource for a company or for myself if I am able to speak with almost all the language that are spoken on the same area. Something like I already speak English and I also speak Spanish and I use it on my daily basis because I have my customers in my current job. I have customers in Latin America, so that's why I've chose to master or to learn again or to practice Spanish because I believe it was a really good opportunity to expand my abilities and considering that I can use it because I'm living on the same time zone. For example, I can try to learn, I don't know, German or French, but makes no sense when I'm living like 3 or 4 hours uh, behind them, you know. So in considering the business hours, it wouldn't be like useful to me from a business perspective. That's why I've chosen to improve my Spanish skills.
Great.
And what about you? Have you lived in
Uh,
Argentina?
yeah, I traveled to Argentina to uh, how can I say intercambio in English?
Exchange.
Exchange. Yeah, I was on an exchange to study Spanish in Argentina. So I learned
For for how
Spanish
long? For how
first.
long? I'm sorry.
Uh, five
When,
months.
oh, half
Five
a year.
months. Yeah. So I lived there with a family host in Argentina. So I study half an a year, I think, Spanish. And after I traveled to Argentina and get there 5 months.
Great,
And,
great. Do you use Spanish on a daily
That's
basis
cool.
or no?
Cool.
uh, not
Yeah.
every time. I use in the Spanish immersion, but I try to not speak, but listening Spanish in watching videos or series or movie in
Music, you
Spanish,
know? You like
music.
music in Spanish? Like
Yeah, to
reggaeton or something like that? Like
yeah,
reggaeton?
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So I can uh, have the contact with the language, but speaking it's more complicated. So
I
because of
understand.
that, I initialized to do the Spanish immersions and make a host and to speak Spanish and practice.
This is great.
Cool.
What about you, Andre?
So
Have
I
you
live,
ever lived in? Yes, go
yes,
ahead.
I lived in Colombia, Bogota, 2 years. I'm back to Brazil in 2020. I'm back to Brazil. Yes, I was in Dublin and I'm back to Brazil, finished my degree and traveled to Colombia with a company for working in sales area in Latin marketing. I'm
That's
worked
great.
in this area 2 years and I'm back to Brazil in
That's great.
2020 when it started the COVID.
Wow. In the middle of
Yes,
the
the
no,
hard
in the
time.
beginning of the pandemic.
The
Yes,
beginning, yeah, when it starts,
in the
yes.
beginning.
The beginning of the pandemic is a hard time, you know.
But tell me something, both of you.
Mm.
Does make the difference to be living in a Hispanohablante, I don't know, in a,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, I
Spanish
understood.
speaker
I
country, I
understood
believe.
you. Okay, I understood
Yes.
you. No problem. Okay.
Does that make a difference or not?
I think
Or
that
it
is
depends?
now we are Latinos. You have a you have the same energy. Is the food is not is similar, and we have the same social problems. Have favelas.
Yeah,
Have
but I mean,
okay.
from the point of view of learning a new language or being
Learn.
proficient,
Okay, I'm so
yeah,
sorry. I'm so sorry.
yes, I was
Okay.
talking about like regarding learning a
Mm.
new language and practicing and comparing, like if you had the
English or
opportunity.
Spanish?
No, Spanish, Spanish.
Okay.
In your case, you live in Dublin, so for
I
both,
live in
but
Dublin. Yeah, I live in
yeah.
Dublin.
So
Exact change. Mm.
is it necessary or is it a positive thing to be there, to be immersed on their culture and speaking? Like if you go out on the street, it's something like you have direct contact with the language.
I had a lot of contact with the Colombian people. It's good when you is a ship, you know. If you one day you go to the Spain next year, or
No, I went
you
twice.
went, okay,
Yeah,
okay. So
but it was like 1 month,
okay,
1 month and a half. It was
okay,
a small
not too much
amount of
time.
time.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
okay. So I think it's very important, and you learn with people from the street, from your job, because I'm working with Venezuelan, Mexican, Chile. I'm learning a lot of with the clients in telephone. So it's good. Is very good, So you open to try different kind of food, travel, talk with people, and you know, open
I
mind,
see.
open
What
mind.
about you, Wally? What's your opinion about it?
Yeah, for me, it's really a game changer. I know that not everyone has the opportunity to study and live in another country to do that. But if you had have the opportunity, it's really good because the improvement of your speaking and your listening, it's really great, and it's really fast compared to do that on your country. That's not the same. It's pretty fast, and it's pretty better. For me, it's a really game changer.
That's good to know because I never had this opportunity to be in the place where. What is
Yeah.
that, Andre? Some notes?
No, it's okay. I was thinking the next question is six. Okay,
Okay, no, actually
could be
we are talking about the third question, but
the third
we are
question.
jumping,
Okay, I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
we are
I'm so
jumping to the fourth, and I'm going to read it. Like, have you
Art.
ever, Andrea, have you ever researched different language learning methods or resources?
I was thinking about that, and when I was in Colombia and Dublin, my my strategy, my mind, because in Dublin have a problem, a difficult, have a big problem, because a lot of Brazilian living there, a lot, a lot. I in my school, in my class, all the student is Brazilian. So, okay, we are in English class, we talk in English, but you know, when you live, you share the house with Brazilian, we speak just in Portuguese, you know,
That's true.
and that's
That's
true.
true.
Yes, I had this problem, and my strategy is every day go to library in a English class, and I met a lot of people from different. I met different people from the world, like Japan, Korean, and from Russia, China, Mexicans, Venezuelans in English conversation in library. My strategy, it's a strategy I had
Great,
in my exchange.
great, great. What about you, Wally? Have you ever researched different language learning or methods, research?
Yeah, I use a lot of that. It was different in Spanish and now with English, because when I was learning Spanish, I I did a regular course about Spanish in a year or so, and after I went to Argentina, so I guess it was more like natural to learn the language. But now with English, it's different. So it's more complicated to get motivated to learn the language. And now I use a lot of things. I use language apps like Duolingo. I use online courses here on Talk and Talk, for example. Uh, I use also ChatGPT to practice writing and reading, and also I'll use the English immersions. So yeah, I think it's important to have a lot of different methods and resources to learn the language, or mainly to maintain your motivation. So I think it's really important.
That's great. That's great. I believe this is the key point when we have like a goal to use the language as a tool, because just learn for learn makes
Yeah.
no sense. And considering that we have to sacrifice, that we have to make a lot of effort to learn or to make progress, I believe there will be a time that when you think like, oh man, why I'm doing that? I could like doing something really cool instead of that. But when you have like a goal or something to accomplish, I believe it's easier to keep motivated and to even notice your own progress, you know. And I have the habit like recently I'm trying, not recently actually, but I'm trying to writing down everything that I need in English. You know, every note, every plan, every to-do list I do it in English because it's the language that I've chosen to use on a daily basis. So I also have a list. I have a notebook, a regular notebook, like where I have a list of words and expressions that I never have, that I don't know yet, or that I heard but I don't recall the meaning. And I can review it like on a daily basis and use Chat GPT to to find out the meaning and stuff like that. So that is the recent method that I have, and also trying to practice here at Talk and Talk, and also with in person with people that I know that speak English that they also need to practice. So this is my method, my actual method, right? Okay, so let's
Very
jump to
good,
the
teacher.
fifth
Very good.
question. I'm not a teacher.
You're
Good to
not a
remember.
teacher, really?
No, really.
No?
No, because
Your
here at Talk
English
and Talk,
is perfect, like a
I,
teacher.
I know. No, I'm sorry. I'm
Like,
joking. And
no,
humble. No, actually,
to be humble, but it's okay. Your English is amazing.
I'm not a teacher. I am a host. Like,
Just a host. Okay, you
yeah,
just
just a host. This is
okay.
important. This is important to mention because
Okay,
of course we have some teachers here, but
okay.
it's not my case. I believe Warley is the same situation with the Spanish, right? Because Warley is a
Okay,
Spanish
yeah,
host.
I remember we talked about that. I remember,
Yeah.
but it's yeah.
Yes.
Your English is
Exactly.
amazing. Okay.
Oh no, no, no. Actually, it's been like I'm studying English since 2011, so I
Okay.
I don't expect anything different from be at least good. But also I make
Yeah.
a lot of
English is
mistakes.
good.
I make a lot of mistakes, and I'm always have some kind of question, or I don't know if I'm saying the right thing, or if I have something important to talk with, like with my boss or my crew, my staff. It's really hard to me because I have to make sure that I am not making mistake. But actually, the Americans
Oh,
itself, they don't worry if we are making mistakes because they also make mistakes on a daily basis. So,
so,
but
you know,
the,
it's not my first language. It's not your first language.
exactly,
You need to be very
exactly.
clear in your answer, and it's okay.
And in general, they only speak North Americans. They only speak English. So we have the ability to speak more than one
Yes.
language, and this is really
Portuguese,
amazing.
Spanish,
Yeah,
yes,
it's
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
this is
good.
really good. All right, so let's jump to the fifth question. Warley, what challenges could you anticipate encountering while learning a third or even a fourth language in your case?
For me, there are 2 points, two main points. The one I think it's building vocabulary from scratch. I think it's a big challenge. In in my case, in English, it was really difficult to get vocabulary and to learn the words from scratch. And also, I think maintain the motivation. It's really important of the long term. I think know why are you learning the language. It's really important. That's the most important for me now with English. So I think it's really important to know that and to maintain the motivation. It's a really important challenge.
Great. What about you, Andre?
Is about which
It's
question?
the fifth question. What challenges could you
Okay.
anticipate encountering while learning a third or fourth language?
What challenge call you? Can you explain for me this question because it's not clear for me.
Sure,
What
sure.
challenges
I'll do my
could you
best.
antecipate? Tipo,
Yes.
antecipou? Tipo,
Yes,
antecipate?
yes. Like, what can you imagine it's gonna be hard to you while you're learning a new
Ah, okay,
language?
now understood. Okay, now understood. I think it's they keep the motivation, like Warley, and you need practice. For me, English, you need practice every day. When you practice every day, you learn new words, you learn grammar, your listening will be better, your listen, speaking. So I think that the keep the motivation is the most important. And another things, uh, for example, in Talk and Talk, we have a social program. Okay, I'm talking to you. I have a social program. I have access to all the program. It's very nice, but I think that um, like it's expensive to learn another language.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
German. Yes, it's expensive
If
because my time is money, and you need to invest money in a course, in teacher, books. Invest your time. Is very expensive. You know. Yes.
I believe you reached the main point. It's expensive regarding
Yes.
money and
It takes
regarding time.
time exactly because most of the people have a two children, have a big family. You don't have time. So I
And about money, if you're going to pay
don't
like
have time. Yeah.
a particular class, like
Exactly.
with a
Yeah.
good teacher, you're going to spend at least 150 bucks, I guess. So if you consider that you have to have like 10,000 hours of practice paying like 150 bucks an hour, it's something like to learn to flight a plane, it's expensive. It is.
Yes. And another thing, it's hard to learn another language. I remember when I started to learn English, I cried. One day I cried after the school because I the teacher talked with me and I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand anything and I think it with me, oh my God. And I thought,
Like right now on the fifth
ah,
question.
yes, oh my God,
You-
this language is so hard. It's impossible. You put this when we start a new language is difficult. It's difficult. It's
Not
not
only when you
easy.
start, not only when you start, actually
But
on
after
the
for me, I think that's for me learning English, learning more English in English is easiest than people easier than a person start today, for example. Do you understand? Do you
Of
know?
course,
Yeah.
I got your point.
Yeah,
I got your point
that's
because we are already used to practice. We are used to learn. It's not we are not starting from the scratch. But
exactly
yeah, but
easier. Yeah.
regardless that, I believe it's too hard because
Yes.
we have that pressure that, oh, but you are not a beginner. So
No.
this kind of mistake, you are not able to, like, you are not supposed to make
No,
that
because
kind of mistake.
learning grammar for me is boring. I prefer learning like in Duolingo with games or in conversation class. But I know I need a grammar. It's good because it's the background, you know. You have a
We
good
need something
grammar.
like our
Yeah,
base.
exactly. It's a base, you know. It's good. But yeah, I had this problem. I prefer English class or learning with games, move. I love watch move with the subtitles in English, you know. And I think that's the most important thing when you start to learn another language. You put the language in everything. Sometimes I talk with me in English, you know, sometimes yeah, why not?
But this is good. This is something that I've trying recently. It's hard.
Yes,
It's not that
it's very
easy, but
hard. Yes, nice.
something
But
like I'm heading to, I don't know, to the supermarket, and I'm trying to
yeah,
explain to
exactly.
myself, oh, I am here riding my motorcycle heading to the supermarket, and there I'm going to buy A, B, and C, you know. Do you do
Exactly.
something like that, Warley, or not?
Yeah, I do that a lot in Spanish and now in English also. And
Man, we are
so,
getting crazy. We are
do
getting nuts.
do you know when you are thinking in your daily basis about everything and you always thinking in Portuguese? I try to do that in Spanish and English, and it's pretty great because I don't know, it can it become more natural
Touchable.
to,
Natural. Okay.
yeah, and more natural to think about the language and about the everything. So it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Yes. Is the key put English in everything in your phone, in your read a book, read in English. Listen music, listen in English. Watch a movie, watch in English. Everything. Talk with you in English.
The
It's a little
problem
bit
is when
crazy,
you're
but anyway, I
the
like to
problem
do
is
that.
when your family does not like, or they are not on the same page than you, because at least in my case, I my wife doesn't like English. She likes Spanish. She is studying Spanish actually, so that makes things easier to me because whenever I have to watch a movie, we choose a Spanish movie, so it's good from that point of view. But regarding English is really hard, so it's something it's kind of a lonely thing that I do, you know. At least here at home or with my family, I'm the only one that is speaking English, so something really sad. No, it's not sad, but you understand. I believe you got my point.
It's
It's
boring.
something. Yes, yes.
Yes,
It's something
yes.
like, okay, people, I have to go, I have to study English, or
Yeah.
I'm going to watch a movie in English. So is that point of view that I have. Let me see. I believe we have like 9 minutes left. Let's ask the people from the breakout rooms. Let me close the rooms here so we can have like their point of view of all this conversation about learning a third language. Unfortunately, I believe I have never reached the 10th question, so I've always uh, felt like I've always fell on the fifth question or the sixth question in the middle, but it's okay. We are not supposed to check all the questions. Questions are there to guide our conversation. Have you ever we reached the 10th question during your Spanish immersions?
I I don't remember, but I don't think so. It's difficult. It's difficult.
It's a good sign when we don't complete all the questions, because it's a sign that the conversation was good and we spent a lot of time on the other questions, on the previous questions. So I believe we are good here. We are in a good shape. Hey,
Yeah,
welcome everybody. I'm sorry, go ahead, Eduardo.
no, and always I do a part two of the topic. So
Ah, great.
that's okay.
Great. So people, welcome aboard again. Here we had like our really good conversation about learning a fourth language. In our case, we already speak English, Spanish, and Portuguese, so we were talking about a fourth language. What about you guys? Gabriel, Apoena, Priscilla, Nayara, Vinicius. Vinicius, you are that have the microphone open. Are you planning to learn a third language or not?
Yes, uh,
Which which
I,
one?
I think because interest of professional and relational interest in Spanish, formally, third language formally, okay, for using practical life.
Great,
Uh,
great. It's a
because
really
I just speak a third language, but there is not a practical application because I speak Esperanto. Is a constructed language.
really,
Yes.
man, the only time that I heard about this language was in that program, that show do Milhão. Do you remember, guys?
Yep.
Like it was a question about languages and the answer was Esperanto, but I had no idea that someone in this world speaks that.
Yes, there is a thousands of speakers in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, from the top of my ignorance, well, I was a kid at that time, so that that's acceptable. Thank you, Vinicius. What about you, Nayara? Are you planning to speak or to learn a third language?
Yes, but not now. Like now, I'm okay with English. I was saying to the girls that I think I will get confused if I start to learn another language. So for this moment, I prefer just to keep with my English. It's really good. And
It's
maybe
enough.
in the next year I start to study Spanish maybe or French. It's good.
Great, awesome, thank you. Well, guys, I've shared with you the survey URL, the survey link, so feel free to evaluate ourselves. And please, if there's something that you didn't like, please write down your impressions or your thoughts about that. But if you like our conversation tonight, please evaluate, score us with a good punctuation. Well, we have like 5 minutes left, so we can continue to asking people about the third or fourth language. What about you, Ju? Can I call you just Ju?
Yes, it's my nickname. Uh,
Yes.
well, nowadays, to be honest, I prefer to focus my effort just in English because a change is for me learning English is to have the contact with the language the most that I can. So if I decide to study a third language in this case, would be I think for me it would be more difficult because I have to divide my time to language, so it's not interesting. But maybe in the future, I would like to learn Spanish because it's an important language, you know. We have a lot of cultures that speak has Spanish as official language, so to travel and instead for work maybe sounds interesting for me. But Italy is a Italian. Sorry, it's an option too because I would like to visit Italy and would be a great experience if I could talk with natives there.
Great. So we have two people that are willing to learn Italian here, Warley and Jude.
And Gabrielle.
And Gabrielle. So we
Me
have
too.
three people. Gabrielle, are you studying Italian already or not?
Yes, I spent the time doing a course. Right now I'm studying alone. Because I did a exchange to Italy and learned some things Italian. So I love this language. I want to keep studying about it.
Prego. The two expressions that I know in Italian. Grazie mille e prego. Great. So, like we have 2 minutes left. Let me see. We have Apoena, Priscilla. Apoena, are you planning to learn a new language, a third language?
Yes, in the future, maybe French or Germany. Like I said to Nayara and Gabrielle, I have two aunts and a cousin that live in Germany. By the way, my cousin was born there, and
Wow.
he can speak a lot of language. So for me, it's opportunity to practice.
Great. Great. Awesome. Priscilla, are you studying a new language or English is enough?
No, I starting learning Spanish, but my focus is in English. Yeah, I
Great.
need to put more focus and improve more than Spanish. But I stay here on a talk parts Spanish too.
Awesome. Well, we have like Andre, Neri, and Warley. Andre is planning to, in the future, really so far away, learn Mandarin, right, Andre?
Maybe.
Maybe. It's
I
not
think
a this.
so.
Okay, great. And Warley considering to learn Italian as well. So great. It's really good when we think about all the effort that we have to put together to learn a new language. Yeah. Well, we have no time anymore, so I really appreciate your participation here tonight. So it was a really good conversation. I hope you can be here next time. And well, that's it. Have a good one and